There was once a handful of survival games, then there were tons. Now, there are spin-offs of survival games dominating the market. What exactly was the rise of the genre, which game spearheaded it, and what game is dominating today? Well, there's no short answer. I'm Andrew the New Guy, and today on gameranx we ask the question, why are alternative survival games taking over? A lot of PC players and console players find themselves hooked on survival games, while other players really just don't get it. But even if you don't get it, you have to acknowledge that there are some really good survival games out there. Survival games have been around for a while, but the modern day survival game is really kind of its own genre. While there are a ton of survival games to mention, I want to get started with Minecraft, because we all know Minecraft. Before Minecraft took off and became the monster that it is and became all about the creative building aspect of it, it was at its core a survival game. You'd start off in a world with no gear, no weapons, no food, etc. And from there, you had to collect materials, build yourself shelter, build yourself weapons and armor, and get yourself something to eat. Then there was the fear of getting killed by the monsters that were roaming around that you had to protect yourself from. But what made Minecraft so addicting and fun originally was the gamble that came along with it. It was seeing how much further you could go into that cave, how much further you can go into that mine, trying to find diamond and other rare resources before having to turn around and head back to your shelter. Because if a skeleton came out of nowhere and killed you, that's it, all your stuff is gone. Unless you can make it back there in time and retrieve it. So the risk-reward aspect of the game was what really made it addicting. Then the DayZ mod for armor came out, and it added an element that made survival games even more addicting, and that was the fear of another player. While DayZ and Minecraft are both different games, they're also very much the same and have a few similarities. For those of you that don't know, DayZ is a zombie survival game, and the goal of the game is just to survive, plain and simple. You spend your time running around Chernarus looking for cans of beans and the super rare and very desirable ghillie suit. And the addiction here is the same as Minecraft, the risk-reward factor. Coming up to a town and seeing that it was infested with zombies, but you see a grocery store in the middle of it and you really need food, you have to battle with risking your good gear for a couple cans of beans or moving on to the next town. And being faced with those decisions is what kept people hooked. And as I mentioned earlier, the one thing that DayZ added was the fear of other players. While the zombies could be dangerous if you made a mistake, it was the other players that you really needed to be careful of. Nothing was more upsetting than finally making it all the way up north to the airfield, which for those of you who haven't played, that's where all the good weapons are, and then getting killed by a sniper hiding out on top of the fire station. It was the worst thing. Then you'd spawn back in, book it all the way back up north, hoping that no one looted your body, and you'd be able to get some of your gear back. It was very rinse repeat. As soon as you died, you'd jump right back in and start from step one and do it all over again. After DayZ, there were survival games coming out left and right in Steam Early Access. Eventually, DayZ came out as a standalone game in Early Access as well, but all these other games just didn't have the same hook, and a lot of them were just DayZ clones. There were some games that did make things a bit different and held their own. Games like Rust, Ark Survival Evolved, and The Lone Dark are all worth mentioning. Each of those games did have their own hook that really set themselves apart from the likes of DayZ. Then there are games like H1Z1, which was trying to do what DayZ did but make it a bit better, and H1Z1 did manage to gain a little bit of a player base, but it wasn't quite doing as good as it could have been doing. It wasn't until they released a new mode called Battle Royale that the game took off. Battle Royale was originally a mod created by a modder that went by PlayerUnknown for Arma 2 and Arma 3. And eventually Sony Online Entertainment hired PlayerUnknown to help bring that mod to H1Z1 as an actual game mode. After launching the new mode, the game started doing very well enough to the point where players were either coming to play their standard survival mode or the Battle Royale mode, and the team behind the game, now called Daybreak, split H1Z1 into two different games, each getting its own team to support them. And just so you know, Battle Royale is very Hunger Games-like. A bunch of players are dropped into the same map with no weapons, no armor, no nothing, and you need to rush to try to get weapons and start taking out other players before they take you out. There are usually about 100 or so players in a match at one time, and everyone has to kill players off as fast as they can while also trying to stay alive. And what this mode did was it took the risk-reward aspect of survival games and crammed it into a shorter, more fast-paced experience. You were always on your toes, and something as simple as searching a building for a weapon could end with a bullet to the head because another player was hiding in there waiting for someone like you to do just that. And then after some time, the map would be bombed with toxic gas, and it would force players to move closer to each other, forcing them to really start acting a bit faster and taking out other players. And players couldn't get enough of it. Daybreak had a gem on its hands, players loved the adrenaline rush that came with playing it, and they loved not knowing what was behind every corner. Then in September of the same year that the game split into two, they put out a huge patch that changed the game a ton, but one of the most important additions was that it added Twitch integration, and this is what helped to popularize the game. Twitch streamers really got into the game, and every day there were more and more users streaming it and more people watching. And with Twitch being so big and some of these fans being so loyal, it really helped to get the game out there. And when I say it really helped, I mean it really helped. The game's player count has grown by 1000% since September, which is obviously huge. And according to Daybreak, who is now behind H1Z1, the game is just doing better and better. I find it super interesting that a platform like Twitch can take a game that was doing so okay and really give it its success. I mean, it wasn't just Twitch. Daybreak did make some awesome changes to the game that also helped it, but Twitch definitely played a huge part. I've watched a few of these streams, and I must say that it is very enjoyable, and I'm not big into Twitch. And I watch longer than I think I've ever watched a stream before. And it really is because the game itself is just a blast to watch. It's pretty intense and fast-paced depending on who you're watching. So I get the appeal. It's almost like watching a sport, like watching a game of football or baseball. I really wouldn't even consider myself an average Twitch viewer. I'm barely on there. So as a below average user, I get why someone would want to watch someone play H1Z1. And as someone who spends more time playing games than he does sleeping and working combined, and also as someone who once had a very bad DayZ addiction, I get the appeal of playing it, because it's a total fucking blast. The intensity that comes from dropping into a war zone with like 100 more players, and you're racing to get good gear and partake in the kill or be killed thing is insane. It also makes it super addictive, because as soon as you die, as soon as you're out of the game, all you want to do is jump right back into the next game and do better. Each time getting closer and closer to being one of the final players alive, just to get killed and start all over again. And even though H1Z1 is a drastically different survival game, it still is one at its core because it has the same effect that permadeath survival games like DayZ have. As soon as you die, you lose all that hard work and you're just itching to get right back into it and try again. For a while, it seemed like H1Z1 was really going strong, like it was the king of the hill. Bad joke, I know. But yeah, we were actually gonna make a video all about H1Z1, and when we were working on it, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds came out out of nowhere and knocked H1Z1 out of the spotlight. Battlegrounds at the time of this recording is the second most streamed game with over 125,000 viewers, and H1Z1 is at number 20 with about 8,500 viewers. So Battlegrounds really wiped the floor with H1Z1. And this is only over the course of a few days. And I think the reason for Battlegrounds kind of taking over is obvious. It's being made by PlayerUnknown. He's the creative director on the project. He isn't relying on someone else's engine. He's doing it his own way. So you're really getting his true vision of the Battle Royale mode. And this game is killing it. It's made $11 million during its first weekend out in early access, which is insane. PlayerUnknown, whose real name is Brendan Green, has really kind of made his own genre that has spanned across multiple games now. It takes what makes survival games so great and simplifies it a bit and kind of speeds it up. Although if you want to play Battlegrounds a little slower, you can. So like I just said, Brendan Green kind of created a brand new genre of games, and the two games from this genre that are competing against each other, he's worked on both of them. So to answer the question, why are alternative survival games taking over? Well, I guess the short answer is Twitch. And the long answer would be you guys, the gaming community. Twitch streamers are a part of that gaming community, and whether you have 1,000 viewers or maybe 100, you're helping to get the word out about these games. Like I said before, without Twitch, I think these games are great, but Twitch definitely played a huge role in getting these games so big. And this isn't the first time that Twitch has helped a game either. If you look at Rainbow Six Siege, Siege didn't catch on fully until almost a year after its release. Once the big Skull Rain update came out and it was streamed all over Twitch, that game's player base shot up, and it's still up. It's still a very heavily played game. I'm really curious to see how many games pop up over the coming months that try to replicate what Brendan Green has created, this Battle Royale mode. Are games like those going to flood the Steam Early Access marketplace, or is either H1Z1 or Battlegrounds going to be the game that holds on to the market and becomes the game to play? But we want to hear from you guys. Meet us down in the comments, let us know what you think. Do you guys prefer H1Z1 King of the Kill, or do you prefer Battlegrounds? And do you think that games like these are going to be around for a while, or do you think that this is a quick fad that's going to go away? Hitting that like button really helps us out a ton, and if you guys already didn't know, we put out videos like this every single day, and the best way to get them is with a subscription. And we just want to say thanks for checking out this video, and we'll see you next time right here on gameranx.